Well, hello there, mates. Welcome back to the TTP Field Manual podcast. Today we are going to be doing a very spoilery book club review of the Necron 40k novel, The Infinite and the Divine. Tee-hee! All right, I'm Joshy. With me is Jonny. How are you, mate?
Oh, I'm pretty good. The end of a Necron book, and frankly, the TLDR is book was pretty fun.
Book was pretty fun. Book was pretty fun for me the whole way through, but the end really was good. Good end.
Good end.
So many times book not good in the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There was definitely a moment of like, why are all these people showing up? But it makes sense.
Yeah. So the Infinite and the Divine was, oh my god, can you internet please? All right. Written by good old Robert Rath. Published back in 2020. Can you believe that?
5 whole years ago.
5 whole years ago. Yeah, 2020. Released by the good old Games Workshop Black Library. Robert Rath hasn't actually done like too many works of fiction for the Black Library. He's got some short stories, as they all do. But his only other real novel, according to the bibliography here, is the Assassinorum Kingmaker novel, which is apparently also really good.
Or maybe he writes some more and they're even better.
All right. What do you think, though? First impressions?
It felt very Necron. I really enjoyed this book. The banter was incredible and also infuriating at times.
The banter between who, Jonny?
Between the Infinite and the Divine. Between Trazyn and the Astromancer / Chronomancer, Orican.
Couple of two old buffoons.
They definitely are, and what a rivalry these two have every step of the way.
Oh my god, it's almost silly.
It is. It's totally silly. There's so many weird moments where they start to get along, and then some revelation happens and they just backstab each other.
Did you let the Xenos creature into the tunnels just to kill me? Oh, my dear Orican, I think higher of you. Of course, one would be no challenge for you. Ah, so you admit it?
Yeah, that's the whole book.
Yeah, I found it quite a lot of fun. Before this, I have only read the Twice Dead King novels, which is definitely a lot more serious.
Oh yeah,
definitely a lot more serious.
This book is not serious.
But it's a crowd favorite. It's one of the books that everyone who's read it pretty much recommends it. And even to like new readers of the setting, they recommend it, which I'm not so sure if I would recommend it to every new person, because there's a lot of terminology and just stuff in here that if you don't know, you'll probably just be like, huh? Oh, haha, funny old robot.
I do agree. I don't think this is a beginner book. I think there's a lot of moments and terminology and references that aren't really explained, but would make no sense whatsoever without some sort of knowledge of what's going on. Like, if you don't know anything about the War in Heaven, if you don't know what an Astartes is compared to a human, like, you're going to be really confused. The only real positive side is there's really only 2 main named characters. Like, there's not a whole bunch of people jumping in this book randomly, and it really does focus on Trazyn and Orican pretty much the whole way.
Which is really good.
Yeah, without knowing a little bit about the lore of the Necrons and the setting, this book could get very confusing as to what's going on.
Yeah, I think they did do a fairly good job of making the characters like approachable from a reading perspective, when considering the fact that the Necrons, they're not really humans at all, but they have enough like relatability, I suppose, with their patience and emotional outbursts and the occasional tender moment, especially later on when they are a lot nicer to each other. But it's
to their faces.
Yeah, it's to their faces. There's definitely a pretty balanced line between alien stuff that goes above your head, like cultural stuff, technology stuff, power level stuff, and just also being characters you can enjoy and connect with, which I thought was a pretty neat balance for a person who hasn't written that many 40k novels, it seems.
For sure. And I'm going to ask you a really weird question.
Love those.
Who did you prefer, Orican or Trazyn?
Oh, probably Trazyn.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that comes down to the fact that they write him to be a little bit more approachable and human. Orican is definitely more set in the Necron way, whereas Trazyn's curiosity is much more approachable.
Yeah, for those who don't know, the title characters here are, by all intentions, like scientists and the higher thinkers of the Necron society, even before they were robots. Trazyn is essentially a gallery owner and curator, except in this particular universe, that equates to him having artifacts from the dawn of time and basically something from every faction possible, because he has the technology to just appear, basically remove you from reality, stick you in a time-stilled gallery, and that's it. So he's out in the world, he's enjoying himself, he does some crazy kooky things, and then Orican is leagues above Trazyn in intelligence, theoretically, but he spends a lot of his time in meditations and research because he is a true scientist. He's studying the passage of time. He's analyzing the flow of the universe. He's doing calculations. He's the big old nerd, and I think even Trazyn pokes fun at that a few times before Orican's just like, well, you go and play with your toys some more then.
That is definitely the vibes. And these two banter so hard. It's hilarious.
But why are they bantering, Jonny? What's the whole anchoring plot of this story that brings these two into cahoots?
Well, once upon a time in the world of the Necrons, well, the Necron tier, their entire race was like ruined by cancerous growths due to their radioactive sun, creating a very short lifespan for them. And there was one guy that this didn't affect. And they kind of all slightly worship him, but his body was lost. And Orican believes he has found a clue to his whereabouts in a artifact within Trazyn's great gallery. So Orican breaks in to steal it. And obviously Trazyn doesn't like that very much. And that kind of starts this, I wouldn't really call it a race because this book takes place over like thousands of years. But this kind of like rivalry as they compete to be the first to open up this potential tomb that might have the body of this like legendary Necron tier in it. And in the process of breaking in and trying to steal this thing, Orican kind of destroys a whole bunch of cultural Necron artifacts and treasures from before they were the Necrons. And Trazyn really don't like that.
Yeah, it's a lot of back and forth as well as the politics of the Necrons goes on. Like, oh, can you guys like stop using our resources just to one up each other? Because it like the first like real half-ish of the book is like, oh, Trazyn assaulted this Eldari Exodite world. Bloody fucking hell. Where are the Exodite models, Jonny? There was such perfect descriptions here.
The first act of this book, I knew you would be almost in tears with how well they described the
You can do it.
The Eldari.
No, all right, fine. Yeah, so Trazyn's assaulting the world. Their world has the MacGuffin. He steals it. Then Orican, as you said, comes to his gallery to steals it. And then Trazyn's mad, so he takes him to court. It's just back and forth, back and forth.
Literally takes him to court, and the dude's like, I'll wake the Stormlord. Do you want that? And they're like, oh, maybe we don't persecute you right now. How about we just wait?
Yeah, just a lot of moments like that with Trazyn even redirecting a meteor shower to Oricon's world just to try and like sneak through the defenses, and Oricon's just there like, I wish he didn't try so hard. Like he just knows it's Trazen.
Yeah.
And then like, later on in the timeline, of course, after a bunch of research and other things off screen, Trazen's back on the world in secret because Oricon's trying to investigate the planet that the MacGuffin came from, but now it's all orcs and stuff like that. And then the two of them are having this sort of rival fight on the planet for the second time. And then, they get basically slapped on the wrist and told to get over themselves, work together, and stop throwing Necrons at each other because we need those for the Infinite Empire.
There's not enough of them to go around right now. They're all sleepy still.
Yeah. And in preparation for the big old vault to open for them to go in and get all the treasures, by this point in the timeline, the planet has become a human colony, and they begin to live amongst the humans for a little bit in disguise, and they start working together at like an arm's length. Then they start confiding in each other, only for them to still backstab each other at the end of the thing. And it's just constantly back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, just like an action comedy.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a very good description.
Did you enjoy all the little nods to things like Catan and Ematech and stuff after all of our recordings lately? Like, hey, I get that.
I think it was a really good time to read this book.
Right, you're welcome.
At the end of Necron November,
Yeah, goodness. Necron November really set us up for some good stuff.
It sure did. And yeah, there's a little bit of a weird time jump that happens quite often in this book. Like it's kind of broken down into separate parts of history as you watch this world kind of like grow, be attacked, die, get back up. Like the orcs drain a large part of the oceans of this world to cool off their ships. And now when the humans are there, the coastlines have all receded, and what used to be coastline is now just like barren land. And it's really interesting to see the growth of this planet as Trazen kind of sits there and watches and seeing
quite fun.
and seeing all the like Eldari influence in these humans because of, history.
Yeah, one of my favorite moments was Necron Trazen in human employer role, talking with his old servant who has been with him for like 50 years. He's like, my lord, this is my last day. And Trazen's like, huh? Already? What?
Yep.
50 years? And then he's like, my lord, can I ask, like, what you intend to do with this planet? Because, I figured it out. What you're doing, like you're not a human, my lord. Huh. It's okay though. You've been kind to me, I guess. And Trazen's just there, like, oh, that's right. I've completely like possessed this human's mind with my mind shackle scarabs. I will just talk about my plan, but it's actually like really sweet as like Trazen's like having an actual like human like conversation with just an old man that's been with him for most of his life. Trazen's like paid for his kids to go to school. He gets him prosthetic limbs and medicine when he needs it. Meanwhile, Oricon's like, humans are disgusting, Trazen. How could you?
Yeah, that old world versus new world Necron ideal, right?
What were some of your favorite scenes and moments?
I really enjoyed that same scene. I thought it was a lot of fun to kind of see that more human level. I really liked, as I've said a couple of times now, the banter between the two. Anytime they were in the same place and they're just being silly with each other, I thought it was hilarious just to watch this like sibling rivalry go on over, thousands and thousands of years as this planet just like goes on around them. I really liked watching Trazen kind of study the cultural growth. And there's this one scene towards the end of the book where they kind of arrive for what I believe is the last time, and there's the Inquisitors have come and like torn down some statues of these big metal men that they were, building statues for, and Trazen's like, don't worry, I got a statue. I took it away before they could destroy it.
Do you have a statue, Oricon?
He's like, these people have worshipped me. What do you got?
One of my favorite moments was when Trazen was trying to explain to Orican why he loves humans so much. He's like, they're not, a really captivating species, they're fragile, they don't live very long, kind of like us, eh? And Orican's like having a PTSD flashback.
Blasphemy!
But I love that Trazen's at one point like, did you know that their reproductive system is also their waste disposal system? And Orican's just like, bleh.
Oh man, I forgot about that part. Hilarious.
There's so many like good little moments for me coming from the Twice Dead King end of the Necron spectrum of fiction, which is not a very wide spectrum of fiction at this stage, and seeing everyone like gloat about this book. I was in the first few hours of the book like enjoying it, but I wasn't like sure when the book was going to like pick up per se. And then it took me until like the halfway point to realize that I just had the wrong expectations of the book. Hearing everyone be like, it's the best, greatest Necron novel ever. Not for any particular like grand narrative, but just the characterization. It was nailed for these quirky duo pretty well.
Yeah, very much.
And as soon as I got into like that angle of enjoying it, I was like, oh no, this is really fun, eh?
Yeah, yep. For sure. Definitely a lot of fun.
Other favorite scenes and moments, what do you got?
Trying not to jump to the end,
Oh, that's fine. I'll give you another one. I still giggle to myself about the meteor scene.
Yep.
Orican's just in his tower doing his silly nerd research, and there's just the warning for a meteor shower, and he's just like, oh, Trazen.
Trazen
and just
again.
That whole scene is so funny. Like in the court scene earlier to that, because Trazen has a bunch of little relics and artifacts that alerts him to things, and he's a bit of a higher thinker. He can tell when Orican's rewinding time, because he can do that. He's the greatest of all the time wizards. He can just time slip forwards and backs a little bit. So anytime he fucks up in his court admissions, he goes back.
Just tries again.
Yeah, and then Trazen over like several parts of the chapter, like the scene is actually like starting again, like word for word, like what is being said in the court. But Trazen's like, oh, my head. What the hell is going on? And then he looks at Orican, who may as well be Necron sweating, and he's like, you dick.
So then he goes and finds an artifact that allows him to prevent the time slipping.
Yeah, right.
To counter him, because he's just like, you can't be doing this. It's not fair. I can't compete with you jumping through time.
But there's a lot of good stuff. Like, we've talked a lot about the conversational aspects and the characterization, but like the book starts with like Trazen assaulting an Exodite world, which is the Eldari who decided to flee the society before it fell to Slaanesh and decided to become basically wood elves and like tribal-ish versions of the Eldar culture. So they got flying pterodactyl creatures with guns. They've got ginormous brachiosaurus creatures also with guns and shield generators. And they got the Seraphon Carnosaurs for their Farseers to ride on. I'm like, where's my model?
And they describe them so well. Like, how are they not models at this point?
Yeah. And I'm like crying at the gym.
Oh, mate.
I'm like listening to this at the gym, and I'm like, I want my Exodites.
I have all the other Eldari factions.
Yeah. But then there's like a whole scene where basically in some point in time, Trazen stole a chunk of the Gorka Morka like orc world, like speed war thing, and hid the MacGuffin like in the idol to Gork or Mork. He's not even sure. And like the pair of them are trying to like essentially like trip each other up, trying to not let the other one get the relic. Meanwhile, the orcs are just like, whoa! And then
the orcs start powering up this spaceship, and Trazen's just like, oh, they weren't meant to do that. Why did I leave it fueled? Yeah. They're going to destroy everything.
Next time I won't leave fuel.
Yeah, it has to try and prevent these orcs from setting it off, while Trazen's just like, while you're distracted, I'm just going to sneak in here and grab the MacGuffin.
Yeah,
And Trazen's just like, fuck!
There's just so much good stuff. Like, one of the times they go back to the planet before, it's called Solemnes. No, fuck, wrong. That's Trazen's gallery. It's called, what was it called? It starts with an S.
Serenade.
Serenade. Yeah, Serenade. It has a few different names, which is why I was struggling to figure it out, because each culture that's on it gives it a different name over the like 10,000 years or whatever. But yeah, Serenade, like one of the times they come back, it's all orc, captured. So they're in like a void war. And then Orikan's like losing. And he's like, Trazen, how do I fight orcs? But there's just some really cool stuff. Like they go in and they showcase how both of them can like slip their consciousness around into different robots. Like Orikan is basically got like 70 computer monitors at once, and he's like transferring his stream of consciousness to like the gunner, because the gunner only just woke up from the Great Awakening and is really bad at aiming. And so Orikan's like, oh, fine. And he just teleports his brain to the gunner, blows the thing up the gunner should have gone, and then comes back. Like little things like that. It's so fun. You're like, oh, these guys are so strong.
Oh yeah, they made Necrons look very good.
Well, do you want to talk about the ending stuff and the whole like Vishani and the Song of Serenade and all that stuff?
Sure, we can talk about Vishani and the Song of Serenade.
Yeah, what is it, mate?
So, in the kind of like lifeblood of this planet, there seems to be a rhythm, a song that has like influenced the growth of the planet, people, everything. Like in their music, it kind of matches this rhythm. And this is what has drawn Orikan and Trazen to this planet. There's this subconsciousness that is talking to Orikan and guiding him to where this is and what he needs to do to unlock the tomb world that holds Nepper, I think his name is.
You got it.
That Neperath?
Yep, you got it.
Yeah, I know my things occasionally. And this kind of like consciousness is trying to pair and let Orikan open up and kind of like get inside his head a little bit to help him become more powerful and transcend his metal form and, get in and discover what is within and find this Necron tier body and whatever else might be in here. While Trazen is kind of like, it's more for Trazen a case of, one, he got court ordered to do it, and two, Orikan wants it, so I want it. It's an important artifact from Necron history. It's not so much about a further goal other than I kind of just want the thing, because that's what Trazen does. He collects. Eventually, they locate this door. They get it open and then try to backstab each other just long enough for it to close. And they're like, shit, the humans are going to exterminate us this planet. We kind of need to get in again before that happens. But the door is on like a time lock. And it's going to go off in the middle of the exterminatus. And that's our chance. So they kind of have to wait around, plan, and sit around for a bit, doing their thing, arguing with each other, while kind of getting along a little better as they kind of form this relationship. It's like colleague relationship, while having to report into the Infinite Empire every now and then. Every time they have to report in, Orikan is super shady and he's like, oh, I guess you've just been doing better than me. I haven't really worked anything out yet. While Trazen is like, oh yeah, no, I've discovered this, and these people are doing this, and this is a thing. And you could definitely see like Orikan's shady, I want this all for myself, whereas Trazen's just like, yeah, I'm just doing what I've been told. Just doing the job. That is kind of most of the book, honestly.
That really is most of the book until like that last like 2-ish hours.
Last leg. Yep. Everything kicks off.
Yeah, they're trying to get into like the vault, if that's what it can be called. The world is actively being like exterminatus because the gene stealer cults have infested the planet, and the Imperium's like, whoops, can't have that.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how many different factions show up in this book that is based on 2 Necrons, because you've got Exodites, you've got Orcs, you've got Gene Stealer cults, we get We get some Astartes towards the end, like there's so many players going on and none of them matter in the grand narrative because it's all just around these two people.
Yeah, but the gate itself is closed because rubble and Oricon's trapped under there, and Traz is like, oh well, I'll come back later. Comes back later, century or two later. He starts to open the door because he's also under this sort of mania to open this gate.
From the song. Yeah. Drawn to the song.
And Oricon crawls out like as a crippled, broken apart Necron, like, Trazen, wait, we cannot open it, Trazen, no. And Trazen's like, Oricon, what are you doing? Oh my god, you look like crap. And Oricon's like, 2,000 years I've been digging myself out, time sliding back. 2,000 years to tell you don't do it. Trazen's like, oh, okay, and opens it.
He's like, screw you, and opens the door anyway.
Oh, what's inside?
They find a bunch of stone Necron tier statues and a perfectly preserved Necron tier who is so perfectly preserved that he ends up sitting up in his casket as the stasis fields shut down once Trazen walks in. And Trazen has this moment of like, oh my god, a living Necron tier. We might be able to save the Necrons. We might be able to get our bodies back. And then this Nepereth kind of turns to face him, and Trazen's like, oh fuck, I messed up, as he stares into the face of a Catan shard of the Deceiver.
Yeah, man. What a set piece. What?
Right? What an absolutely unbelievable moment of, oh, I messed up. Yeah, the Deceiver and Trazen kind of talk back and forth about how the Deceiver always was Nepereth. Like, he always was, and that's why he was unaffected by all the cancer and all of that. Then we end up with this really cool, like, battle between the Deceiver and his army of Necron soldiers and flayed ones, while Trazen and Oricon are forced to work together at last to kind of stop this Catan shard from getting out, because it's multiple Catan shards all rolled into one, and they dropped a little bit of law where they're like, we only ever imprison one shard at a time, because if there was any more than that, they're too powerful to imprison. And they're like, oh wait, like 3. And then 2 extra ones on the side. So there's 5 Catan shards of the Deceiver in this one place. And they get this like throwback to the War in Heaven, where you've got Necrons versus Catan for the first time in, 65 million years or whatever it is.
Yeah, no, some really cool stuff going on, like, in this fight.
Oh, absolute. Yeah.
The Deceivers bum rushing Necron warriors and immortals through the Flayer virus, like, immediately, like, instantaneously, corrupting the engrams of various vehicles. And so it's a Necron v Necron thing. But then you have people like Oricon, who's, again, with his, like, supercomputer brain, basically controlling various facets of the battlefield. Like, I think at some point he's controlling 9 separate individuals, like, at once, and he's cooking, like, he's quite literally cooking.
Yeah, he's overheating his systems.
And he's like, Trazen, I need help. And Trazen's like, yeah, working on it. And he's like body hopping from like lich guard to lich guard, just poking things with his big old staff, which quite literally obliterates things from reality.
Well, he's called an obliterator.
Yeah, he's trying his hardest to actually get near the Deceiver, because his staff's like the only thing they have that's like powerful enough to injure him.
Yep.
And he's trying to stash him in his Pokeballs. But at some point, Oricon's like, please tell me you have like reinforcements, because like all the things left behind here are very quickly being killed, and we can't replenish them. I can't keep reanimating them. And Trez is like, oh, colleague, you think so little of me? I do not bring an army. I brought 5.
I brought 5.
And out comes some Exodites. Out comes some Orcs. Out comes some Gene Stealer cults, hilariously. Out comes some of the Serenade Militarum.
He's like, yeah, I have my Pokeballs here, don't worry. And then you end up in this big shit show where you've got Necrons versus all these other factions, and they're all just like this huge slobber knocker war fest. Yeah, absolutely hilarious. But while Trazen's trying to lure the Catan shards to like him to distract them, while Orican is trying his best to be a Nemesaur, even though he's not programmed for that, and control this entire army. And even Orican's like, this is not my job. I'm not good at this. This isn't what I'm made for, as his entire system's overheat. And there's a moment where he's like, Trazen, I really need help. And Trazen's just like, all right, where do you need dealt with first? And then just like beams that area with his own little MacGuffin he's got, and just destroys that entire flank and allows Orican to focus his efforts elsewhere. He's just like, fine, I'll just deal with all of that. It's a one-off, but I can do it. Like, Trazen's just so full of tricks.
Yeah, Orican's like, oh, thank goodness I've got like 15% of my brain power back. I feel much better, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Trazen's got so many things. He's just like, what's in my box? Oh, this will do. Boop. Yeah, one of my favorite moments is when the Exodites come out and the Farseer, who was riding on top of a dinosaur mount that was like biting into Trazen at the start of the book, comes out of her Pokeball, looks around, and it's just like, I told you, Trazen. I bloody told you. Now, I don't have time to get into this right now, but make these sacrifices worth it, asshole. And goes to like 1v1 Catan on a dinosaur. And she's like casting like psychic bolts out of the air, bring up like a shield ward. And Orican's like, what are we doing? We don't have anything. And Orican's like, you want this? And basically gives his little friend Eevee a Thunderstone.
Yep.
What's this Thunderstone? What happens next in the like last like half an hour of the book?
Oh, mate, you tell them. It's too much for my brain to process right now.
So throughout the whole book, Orican has been commuting with a engram, or a sort of a mental simulacrum of another very, very qualified cryptech of the Necron tier, who was, in a sense, Neferef's jailer, a female cryptech called Vishani, who's left a bunch of like cryptic, mathematical, algorithmic clues on how to actually like access this vault and open it up. And Orican has this like Ghost in the Machine experience where he's found like all of her old works and has essentially allowed a interpretation of her intelligence to be like a second voice in his head, offering him advice and helping him to workshop through various problems over the millennia. But it's revealed to be like a deception of the deceiver, like, come get me. But he can't be like too obvious about it, right? But the actual person, Vishani, was real. She was in the vault. She doesn't make it. Sorry. But throughout all this, Orican is able to actually learn how to create like an energy version of himself, a temporary Super Saiyan mode where he sort of inverts himself from a physical being to a spiritual being, just very momentarily, like a burn your battery, like drain the whole battery, become invulnerable for a bit.
Oh, mate, it feels a little more than that, but sure.
It is, but Trazen gives him like this ancient Eldari artifact that was in his pocket, and it's the battery to put all other batteries to shame. And Orican takes this power in after being like, oh gods, this is crazy. Then there's this really amazing scene where Orican has essentially unfurled a bit more beyond just being an energy being to being like almost akin to a god. Like his consciousness expands outwards. He's able to see the galaxy from like a top-down perspective.
He becomes a Catan.
Yeah, he becomes like a Catan. He sees ancient races as like ants. He can't even remember Trazen's name because all of a sudden he's just so much more omnipotent.
Yeah. And there's definitely a moment where he kind of loses perspective a little bit, and he gets that like eternal hunger of the Catan and is like has to bring himself back a little bit.
Yeah. He then realizes where he is and what needs to be done, and sees more so the fact that there is a glowing Catan there that will satisfy that hunger. So it's not hugely that he's there to go save his bacon and his friend's bacon, but he's just like, oh, I'm hungry, and that's the most nutritious thing here. And not even fights his way. Like, they describe him just like soul siphoning things. He like kicks the dinosaur rider who tries to bite him, and like every bone in the dinosaur cracks at once just with the impact. And then he goes to 1v1 the Catan shard, and they describe them as like weaving like stardust into shields and the essence of a black hole into a whip, and just unhinged stuff. Like, way above our brains' capacity to imagine.
Oh, it's crazy.
And then they win. They win the fight. And the pair of them, after Trazen basically wraps Orokin in a blankie and says, it's okay. You've come back. This happened. You're okay. I'm your friend. You're okay. You know, well there, mate. You're good. And Orokin's having like a traumatic experience of once again being a mortal. Well, not mortal, but like a much lesser being, right? And then they slowly work together to seal the thing up properly with extra security. They're like, we're not coming back here. We're not opening this up. We're locking all of these shards back in prisons. This is it. We're going to bury this place. We're not going to let anyone come here again and open this up because this is Catan. This is Deceiver. We can't let this happen. And that's when the book kind of ends.
And they even go so far as to be like, promise me.
Oh,
like, make
man.
a pact here and now between the two of us. None of us will ever come back here and try to open this place up ever again.
And that freaking epilogue.
Oh, man. That fucking epilogue made me want to throw something across a room.
They both broke their pact.
Immediately, as it flicks to Trazen having trapped one of the shards of the Deceiver in his gallery and is just chilling with it. And it's just like, dude, it's like a shard of a shard that he has, but it's still the Deceiver and it's still able to like communicate.
Yeah.
And it's just like, dude.
Is now like powering the gallery and is in there. And then you think to yourself, oh, Trazen's such a dick, but Orokin will be okay. But then it's like Orokin, you know, also went to the thing and recovered the body of Vishani. And you're like, oh my god.
Yep.
Dude.
Like, guys, come on. You literally promised each other and immediately just broke the promise as they both...
I find it so funny that Trazen did it out of this sense of knowledge seeking and power, but Orokin just wants a girlfriend.
But the thing is, he can't even trust that she can be a girlfriend because the Deceiver's already done that once before. Like, what's to say they're not both influenced by the Deceiver now?
Yep.
Ah, man.
Oh, man.
And if there was ever a Catan that they do not want back in influence, it's the Deceiver because that's the one that got them in this position in the first place.
Yep. It's a oopsie-doopsie moment.
Oh, mate. And that's the book. That's where they leave the story.
I think it was very well self-contained, actually.
Yeah. Yep. For sure.
Do you feel like they could do a sequel?
I'm scared for what a sequel would look like, and I don't think so. I feel like they didn't leave this book a lot of the ways that like 40k books leave it, where like all this stuff happens, but at the end things are exactly the way they were at the start, which is pretty common from what I gather. Like, there's not a lot of moving forward in a lot of the novels in the universe. It's all like separate instance events. But based on where they kind of left it, if they did a follow-up, it would have to be a pretty large-scale universal problem. So the only way it could really move forward is in an actual like supplement. Yeah,
I agree. I could see them like upping the scale of it to reflect where people like Orokin are at the moment, which is the prior Nexus Civil War. He could have like Trazen be like his arms dealer, you know, his little shitter in the wall, you know? going around plucking at strings.
Although it would be, see, Pariah Nexus feels like the perfect place for this rivalry to reappear if they were on like separate sides of the fight and then have to like reconcile their issues based on what they experienced before. Because obviously Emotech and Zarek are on opposite sides in the Pariah Nexus, and Trazyn is a little more on the side of Zarek because of the council and all of that, which has since been demolished. Whereas Orokin is very much on the I want to be human side again. Well, not human, Necron tier.
Which is interesting because Orokin has allied himself with Emotech for reasons that are not quite established.
I'm expecting, based on what we know of Orokin, some backstabbing bullshittery.
Yeah, it could be Saltech loyalty, like the same dynasty.
It could be.
But
yeah. It could also be fear of the Stormlord.
Yeah, it could be. Could be many things. It could be that Orokin just doesn't like what Zarek intends to do to get where he wants, and it could be just as simple as that.
Cow. Yeah. Could just be there's a better way. Especially since he's found transcendence at some point, right? Like maybe he knows a little better than everyone else what it might take, or that it's just not possible.
Yeah, possibly. But oh man, Emotech plus Orokin, after seeing just like how insanely smart Orokin is in this, with how well ahead and widespread he can think and plan. Oh dear.
Yeah, no, this was a very well put together book for like showing the intelligence and level of capability of the Necrons and the different level they play on to most of the rest of the galaxy.
Yeah, like Orokin's magic is described as like zodiac signs, which zodiacs are constellations, right? So the man is literally drawing star energy into himself to do magical spells a la Doctor Strange. And so cool.
All right, but I think that's where we leave this one for today, right?
Yeah. What would you give this book out of 10 or out of 5, whatever your metric is?
I would probably give this like an 8 out of 10. I thought this was a very good book.
Yeah, I think 8 out of 10 is probably where I'd put it as well. Until like the last couple of hours, I was thinking like 7.5. But I think the ending really brought everything to a really neat little ending. So I'm happy to give it an 8 as well.
Glad we agree.
Although I realize now we didn't give our scores to our last 2 books.
Well, that's a problem, isn't it?
He Who Fights with Monsters, Book 1. How would you give it out of 10?
I would probably give it like a 9 out of 10.
Okay. I gave it an 8.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I gave it an 8. I think there was a fantastic blueprint there that theoretically should only get better with sequels, but not as strong as I think it could be. But very, very fun book, and 8 is a great score. Don't listen to IGN. Requiem Infernal. What would you give Requiem Infernal?
I would probably give it a 6.5, just because it is a little bit more difficult to follow along in the audio sense, but the actual story itself was pretty interesting.
Yeah, probably give mine around a 7.5, but I actually have started to read it. I recently got the physical print omnibus of The Dark Coil, and I actually have started to read Requiem Infernal as a book. I must say, having a much better time. So it might go up to an 8, maybe 8.5, because it's very alluring. It's very unnerving. Feels like you're reading a book and the book knows you're reading it, and it wants to, tease that it's a bit self-aware and it's a bit creepy and it's a bit like unreliable narrator. It's quite fun. Jonny, what's our next book going to be?
The Red Gobbo Collection.
Yes.
Not just one, but the entire collection. As, GW kind of have made the Red Gobbo their like Santa sort of like Christmas character. With it being December, we're like, why not? So, yeah, there is an audiobook collection that I think has 3 novellas and a couple of short stories all mixed into one.
Yep, we got The Gobbo's Revenge by Mike Brooks, a novella, The Gobbo's Demise, another novella by Denny Flowers, who also has one of the short stories written by them. The Gobbo Rides Again novella by, I believe it's Rory James, but it's really not spelled like how you would think. But yeah, it's a good so far. Mike Brooks is the most prolific of the authors listed in terms of having written some stuff. He's the fellow that did The Lion, Son of the Forest, for example, and several of the Orc books, which I think after we both have read the first novella can really feel that.
Sure.
He does all the Uftark Blackhawk, the Brutal Cannon, the War Boss, that kind of stuff.
And to be honest, it's been a lot of fun to listen to so far.
Yes. All right. Get onto the Red Gobbo collection, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Been fun. Thank you, Jonny.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Y'all have a wonderful end to your year. Have fun with reading, have fun with hobbying, have fun with loved ones, whatever it is you will get up to. Have a good time. Peace out.